All right, so I've been on live twice today, and neither of them have been in my normal filming location. But hopefully, you guys can put up with the pink background again today because we have a special guest on today's podcast. We have Steve Weber from Transamerica, who I'll allow to introduce himself as well. But what we're going to do today is really exciting. We're not just going to talk industry stuff. We're not just going to talk the everything in between stuff. We're going to talk the new Transamerica Express product. We've got some of his slides he's going to share, but we also have about 82 different questions that Nick solicited from his fan base or friends, however we want to call them.
Yeah.
So we're going to, and I
like
haven't
to think
even
of them as friends.
I haven't even pre-screened all the questions with Steve yet, but I'm sure he'll be okay with them. But overall, our mission today over the next 30, 40 minutes is just to announce this product, to show you about the product, to get you excited about the product, and learning what Transamerica has done to enter the current edition of distribution where it doesn't take 2 weeks to get a policy issued. Steve, I appreciate you being here today. Why don't you say hi, introduce yourself, and then we'll get this started.
Yeah, you bet. First, thanks for having me on, Chris. You guys put out great content. Nick, good to see you again.
Thank you.
You have a great channel. You have a great, group that talks and focuses on final expense. So I'm honored to, it's a real privilege to be here. Just a bit about me. I've been at Transamerica. I'm in my 26th year at Transamerica. So as a regional wholesaler, I was divisional. Now I'm national sales manager. And man, I am so excited about this new product. It really checks all the boxes that I think an agent is looking for. I mean, to oversimplify things, right? It's going to have great underwriting, industry-leading EAP, and really good commissions. So there's a lot more details in that, but that's a good place to kick off the conversation.
Absolutely. So if you're on right now, share this out. Most importantly, of all the things you can do on social media for us, drop a comment. Wherever you are, however you're watching, what you're excited about, what you want us to maybe ask if we have enough time. But we really, really, really need comments on our content. We're on YouTube right now. We might be in other places. I'm not sure. But wherever you're watching us from, appreciate you being on. Most importantly, comment with us as we go into Transamerica Express today. So, Nick, anything you want to say in opening thoughts as we dive into your questions and his presentation?
No, I mean, I know this is live on Facebook. I don't know if this is this in the group is this live in the group also, or is this just on your Facebook page live? Because I only saw it on your Facebook page live, but I don't know.
I'm going to share it into the group as you feel free to open up your thoughts.
Because, yeah, I feel like this is a really, really good, unique opportunity to actually get like agents talking to people who actually make decisions and like are in a position to hear things and get information directly from the horse's mouth without it having been filtered through 1,000 different other people before it actually gets to the agents who are on the ground and out and working and talking about things. I let a couple of people know that our topic for today was going to be the new Transamerica product, and asked some of my friends if they had any specific questions that they would like to ask. I don't know how we want to sprinkle those in. I don't know how we want to do that. But I think one that we can start off with, which I think is a question that's on a lot of people's minds, is the intention with this new product that the existing final expense product is going to eventually get sunset? Like, is this the plan to make this the Transamerica final expense product, or is it just a Transamerica final expense product?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one everybody's asked. As a leader of sales, I like that we have both products. I think they fit needs a little differently. Yeah. And the pricing on immediate solution, the existing product, if you have a healthy client, it is hard to beat that powerful combination of the Transamerica brand and the pricing that you can get with Preferred. But at the same time, it takes more than just good pricing to really drive sales. You have to have the other side. You have to have a great EAP, and the one that's 100% instant decision that also has other features. Today's EAP is not a great EAP on iPipeline. The way we do decisioning, the way it gets referred to underwriter, the way you have to wait for an email for that decision. If all that stuff caused you frustration as an agent, you're going to love what you're about to see. So to get to your question, I think we're going to have both for a long time. If we think what we'll see is a really big focus on the new FE Express, I wouldn't be surprised if someday they sunset it, but there's no plans For now, we're launching with both, and I think for quite some time you'll have both products.
Awesome. I got my one question, maybe unlikely, but at least one question as I kind of share this out to the groups. And if you're watching now, share it out, comment below. I posted it in as many places as I can post it. But if you're watching, post it elsewhere or share it on your page, because this is an amazing opportunity for the agent force to talk to actual decision makers, like Nick said. Steve, I remember somebody said once that Transamerica knew they had a great product. They knew they didn't have the best process, but they also knew they were being anti-selected against, where you're only getting COPDers, you're only getting 600-pound neuropic diabetics, and you guys knew that. Can you talk about the carrier's understanding of the market and how maybe with FE Express you built a product that is far more solvent and stable in a very unstable marketplace?
Yeah, I think you and I talked about that, Chris, and it really came down to the point that a lot of people are thinking of Transamerica as in, and oh, by the way, have you tried Trans? Hey, well, have you tried Trans? They're really good at COPD. Have you tried Trans? They're really good at CHF. Well, that's because of the EAP experience and the customer service wasn't up to par and wasn't delivering what the agent wanted. So not too many people were saying Trans is my number one product. I love Trans for their EAP. I love it for their commissions. I love it for their customer service. There was a while where we earned the nickname, and I'm getting ahead of myself because this is such a great line. But, let me ask you, Chris, what was our nickname for Transamerica on social media?
Oh, Trans Amendment.
Yeah, Trans Amendment.
Yeah. Or even worse, Steve, you would submit an application and it would go to pending purgatory. Like it had religious connotations on how challenging it would get.
Yeah. Well, Trans Amendment was earned. And I'll tell you one thing people are going to love with this new process. We've already issued 1,000 policies on FE Express. Our career side got it first to test it. We had a small group in brokerage pilot it. There's not been a single outstanding requirement, not one. 100% of the paperwork of the applications, once this policy is approved and you hit submit, you're done. So imagine all those times where you thought you had a policy issued and the last minute you get an outstanding requirement. That's not going to happen anymore. Now, sure, there's banking information that might go wrong. You might, the draft may have not gone through. So there's always that kind of follow-up. But this whole process is really looking good.
Excellent. Speaking of banking and drafting and stuff, one of the things that you guys do well already is actually drafting, which is a thing that weirdly a lot of companies struggle with. I don't really understand why companies struggle with drafting well. It seems like it would be like everybody's first priority, but you guys do draft well and consistently have drafted well. The handful of times where there have been widespread drafting issues are rare enough that they stick out in my mind. Like I remember there was a time in 2015 when you guys had a pretty significant drafting issue. But like, it's like you do it pretty well. Is that all still going to be working under the same umbrella with this new product? How separate from the immediate solution is the FE Express? Is it like
it is separate? It is separate, but that important feedback is something I really emphasized. For a long time, one of the places we consistently got compliments is, wow, Transamerica does Social Security billing really well. Like, we don't know what you do differently. So one of the first things I did for this new product is work with our partners and in the project team and say, hey, how do we do Social Security billing today? Or I know, but make sure, are we following the same rules? And give me some examples. So, for example, if you're supposed to draft on a holiday and that holiday is a Monday, instead they're going to, Social Security is actually going to pay you on their previous Friday. We're going to make sure we draft on that previous Friday. So a lot of the industry calls that true Social Security billing, and you should experience that same level with FE Express.
Okay.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. I'm going to go through a couple of the slides that you have for the presentation, but we're going to keep it fun, conversational. If you guys are watching and you have a question, drop it in the comment section below as you like, comment, and share out this conversation today. So, Steve, how long, as I get this to load, was FE Express in creation? Like, how long did it take you guys to build this, price it, approve it, and then bring it to market?
Boy, over a year for sure. I mean, I started talking about FE Express this time last year, knowing it was going to come. And we had to work on some kinks. We know that we have to have a good launch, right? We know we're not getting a second or third chance on a launch that doesn't work well. So the pilot program took longer than I thought. The beta program took longer, but we're getting really, really good feedback. So I'd say over a year for sure of actual project and product development.
Yeah, I remember being pulled to the side of Route 40 in Maryland and you showing me a lot of these slides in early June. But I
Yeah,
really appreciate that Transamerica took the time and understands that if you launch something and it's a hot fart from the very beginning, you might as well have just given up all the dollars you spent on it, because agents need a good experience from their very first application to want to even submit a second application. And
yeah,
to launch a product, I'm sure for Transamerica is a pretty expensive venture. I don't think agents appreciate how much regulation and cost and submission it takes to make something like this happen, right?
yeah. I might be the guy that's talking to you about it, but there's 100 plus people that have spent every day or part of every day for the last year working on this project.
Yeah, but agents are very, very unwilling to give the benefit of the doubt. And I will say, I mean, like, you probably have a shorter leash than most
Yeah,
over at Transamerica. It's, for better or for worse. I think agents are going to be very quick to find fault if there is fault to be found. So
yeah,
it's good that you guys seem to be aware of wanting to have it be a flawless rollout. I know the last time you guys had a large change in the application structure, it was not particularly flawless. But let's take a look at some of these slides. I would like to see some of what's coming up.
Absolutely.
I haven't gotten a chance to even look at them yet, so this is great.
Absolutely. So I got some of the original stuff on track here, but anything in the introduction of the FE Express webinar that you think would be beneficial to share with the group, Steve?
The deck kind of shows a lot of things. I'm not sure what slides are coming next, but
Mhm.
let's talk about Transamerica's commitment to this space. Right there, you've seen a lot of carriers. There you go, great slide. There's a lot of carriers that have exited final expense,
Mhm.
and one of the first questions I had to our product team is, are we feeling any of those pressures? And the answer is absolutely not. This is a space we're leaning into. It really started a few years ago with our pretty new CEO. Will Fuller is our president and CEO of Transamerica, and he's really identified this space as where we want to win. There are 68 million American families in the middle market that we want to help. They're not getting the attention of Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or some of the other big wirehouse firms. That's the space that we focus in. And this is just the first of many products you're going to see that are instant issue, 100% decision to really fight in this space. So we had to fix some things internally first and then bring out the right product. And that's what you're about to see. But we are 100% committed to this space in this market.
And it is a true, like, final decision, instant decision. It's not going to be a situation where, you get an approval and then a week later an underwriter comes back and says, actually, you know what, we were thinking about it, and it doesn't, because not that is a thing necessarily that you guys do, but that is a thing that other companies that claim to have instant decisions.
No, it's a binding when you're approved at the beginning of the app, and you'll see some slides coming up where you can customize that coverage. That's a final approval. A lot of agents are saying, "Hey, I love that your new e-app has pre-check." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, you move the decisioning to the front, and now you can customize it." And I'm like, "Darn right, we have pre-check," and I'm glad you noticed that. So, yeah, the e-app
Excellent.
itself is really strong.
Absolutely. Now, most importantly, I kind of cut out a couple of those slides for the sake of the conversation with the e-application, but we'll get to a few. It is an iPipeline, as much as I'm sure you love them and they love Transamerica, and we appreciate their space in the market. This isn't built on the same platform. So if folks are sitting there thinking to themselves, how could that be any better than it already is? It's an entirely different software experience that you've brought us, right?
Yeah, 100% modernized look, updated feel. It really flows well. So over the 1,000 policies that we've already done or in applications we've taken, the average time from the signature process to the quote is less than 9 minutes. Now, sometimes I try to emphasize, slow down, guys. Let's not make any errors. There's also a lot of validation going on in this e-app. There's certainly a lot of Milliman fast data being pulled. There's LexisNexis information being pulled. There's Guy Act rules. There's a lot of anti-fraud. And so we want to make sure agents are slowing down and being accurate for sure.
That's interesting. I just kind of put the next slide up in the middle of our conversation.
Yeah.
You said a lot of anti-fraud protection. Now, I think what's been interesting, and one of our biggest views, Nick, that we did, over 600 views and boosted our channel subscriber base overnight, was as a lot of products were exiting the market. And I pinned it on the fact that they built products pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and they built products pre-telesales boom, and they built products that weren't built to handle a gut punch of mortality and an increase in fraud, where it was just way too easy and almost way Wild West in a sense. Steve, can you talk about, from a carrier's perspective, the importance or how damaging fraudulent or just weak business can be to them?
Right. Well, we're all about, like agency owners are, it's about placement and persistency, keeping that business on the book. No one wants a chargeback, and I'm sure you have giant teams below you. No one wants debt to roll up. So a lot of that came from fraud, and a lot of the fraud was in the virtual signature process. You know, when you see our eApp signature process for face-to-face, you will absolutely love it. For telesales, for virtual signature, I think you'll like it. It's 1,000% better than what we have today, but there's a few extra steps, and part of those steps are about preventing fraud and increasing placement and persistency.
Are we going to be getting to the signature processes in the slideshow, or should we take this time to talk about it?
I don't know if Chris kept them in or not.
I think I have a few of them there, but we'll definitely get to that in a moment or two.
Right. Because I think talking about the signature process is going to be something people really want to hear.
Let's go back to this one slide. I love the bottom right number. You know, a lot of people know the brand Transamerica. They're certainly familiar with it. The pyramid, the company, been around for 100 years. I like this bottom right-hand number the most. This is not our asset size. This is the claims, withdrawals, and benefits that we paid out last year in one individual year. I mean, 47 billion, those are death claims, those are withdrawals, those are surrenders. And it just shows about the size and strength of a great brand, especially in this space that doesn't have a lot of household names like Transamerica. It's just pretty awesome brand to have, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I find it very interesting, Nick. I do a lot of business in Maryland these days, and you can't get closer to a household brand than Baltimore Life and Transamerica in that city.
Yeah.
The Monumental Life building to this day still has the Monumental Life name on it, even though it's owned by a different business. And unfortunately, they don't have the Inner Harbor building anymore. I think they should lease it over to us. But that has the presence in a city very different than most others. And I can speak to the brand power it has in that local market. We got here a little bit on some of the underwriting, some on the product updates. I mean, the things that this product takes is crazy and exciting, and makes it so much simpler for the agent, because the agent gets so obsessed having 72 different products. But with Transamerica and these liberal underwriting criteria, you can make your life so much simpler as a personal producer.
Yeah, this first slide really is about how does the agent choose a carrier? Right? You have all kinds of carriers. What's important to you, and how do we at Transamerica earn more of your business? Well, we had to address a lot of these things. And certainly the underwriting rules, you're going to see some incredible examples. We're going to start with the single conditions, but let's be honest, most of your clients don't have a single condition. It really comes to how do you work with multiple comorbidities? Do they stack or don't they? And you'll see some examples. And once we go through the examples, then I'll emphasize the strength of our fast data. Because at first you're going to think, oh my God, every client's going to get approved. And that's not true. This is not guaranteed issue. We're targeting around 25% declines, and our declines are a little higher than that right now, because a lot of agents just threw everything at us trying to see, like, I've got this guy, he's already declined. Let's see if we can get him approved. Some went through, but a lot of those tough ones, we just emphasize, we have really comprehensive fast data that we're pulling. But yes, you're going to love the decisioning. And I think you make a good point. Building a relationship with one carrier, one, two, or three carriers, and you get to know your team, you know the RVP, you know your internal wholesalers, you learn the products in and out. It can be really helpful for a newer agent in their entire career.
So can we spend a little bit of time just hanging on? Like, I know I just said I wanted to talk about the signature process, and I do, but can we spend a little bit of time hanging out and talking about how underwriting works on a product like this,
Sure.
From an agent perspective, like from what we're looking at?
Yeah, I'm going to show some great examples here that my underwriters actually wrote. So the first chart, what we're trying to emphasize here, it's not just about the single conditions. Like every brochure in the industry shows your single conditions. Where it gets really important is how do comorbidities. So most carriers just say, they count your conditions, right? If you have 3, you're decline. If you have 2, you're graded. Well, now with smart underwriting, we're able to ask ourselves, do these conditions make each other worse? Like, look at this example. I didn't create this. This is directly from our underwriters. And they're saying that if you have diabetes with neuropathy and COPD and MS and Parkinson's, right, those are unrelated medical conditions that don't make each other worse. You're going to get day one coverage select. Pretty strong.
Now I got to jump in real quick here because we both grew up in an era, Nick and I, of
Right.
paper applications and yes and no answers and very black and white underwriting. Well, of course, we also grew up with immediate solutions where if you wrote a long enough note in good enough handwriting and you knew the underwriter, you probably got what you wanted, usually. But in an era of algorithmic next generation underwriting that typically works out in our favor, what would you say to an agent, Steve, who's used to the old school days of yes and no questions, black and white underwriting, because it just doesn't really work that way anymore?
Yeah, you're right. And especially with this product is 100% instant decision. There are no underwriters making a decision here. It is algorithmic and rules based. And what comes with that sometimes is frustration, because if the data we're pulling doesn't agree with the client for some reason, maybe the doctor used the wrong code, there's no way to appeal it. If you don't like the decision on this, you have to go back to immediate solution. And that way you can work with an underwriter. But here's just another great example, right? CHF by itself is often pushed to graded or guaranteed issue. A lot of carriers won't cover it. If you have CHF, you're getting day one coverage. Then you throw in some other unrelated comorbidities, Parkinson's, depression, Crohn's, you still have day one coverage. Now, guys, I overemphasize this too much. I was a little Pollyannish maybe with our underwriting, telling how great it was. And then when we started getting declines, people got frustrated. So I do want to emphasize, we absolutely have rules. And where we're tough, let's talk about where declines are coming from. Declines are coming from the four biggest places are cognitive and dementia. And a lot of clients don't really share that with their agents when they're applying. So that gets pulled from fast data. So cognitive and dementia issues are ending up in declines. The second and third are drug and alcohol history or treatment, or that doesn't always show when the agent's taking the application.
How far back do you guys look at drug and alcohol treatment? Like, for example, I'll give you a for example. I have somebody that I was talking to the other day who was talking to me about their younger sister who was in their 30s and had been declined for life insurance recently because they had been in a rehab facility when they were 17. And it had been almost 20 years. They were a minor at the time, but it was on their medical record. But that got them declined. Would that be the type of thing that would be a decline for you as well, assuming that they were, within the correct age range?
Chris, you're doing a great job on the slides, man, because I wasn't sure. So he went right to drug use, drug abuse, drug treatment. With, if it's 2 years or longer, you're select. If it's within 2 years, it's a decline.
Great.
So same thing with alcohol too. We have some of the rules you'll see within 2 and after 2, especially on the lifestyle questions, like felony charges, like DUIs, like alcohol. But the single chart, look at some of the big four, right? The big four underwriting, medical conditions that people want to know about is CHF. So CHF is select. There is no longer a preferred. So the current product has preferred and standard. But this new product, there's one class. It's either select or graded or decline. But CHF is select. COPD is select. On the next page, you'll see like diabetes with neuropathy, diabetes with complications, diabetes with kidney disease. You're still select. And down at the bottom, I would say the other fourth one is heart attack and heart disease. And then go back to their slide. One place I'm being told we're not super friendly is cancer. Actually, I don't think it shows it here. You got to be cancer-free for 4 years. So, cancer, the cognitive, dementia issues, alcohol, drugs, those are places that are, then oxygen oxygen we're semi-friendly. Oxygen with other comorbidities can push people to a decline also.
You just said semi-friendly on oxygen use, which just that alone is like, what?
Well, because if you're on oxygen, you're never just on oxygen, right?
No,
rarely. So I guess the question that I have, is, so are the issue that I have with so many other companies that are going to this algorithmic underwriting
Yeah.
is it feels like they are encouraging agents to just say, screw it, throw everything at us. We'll decline what we decline. We approve what we approve. The app's fast. Who cares? And that seems, and if you do things like say, hey, I don't want to have to go through 3 applications before I get a client approved. Can you maybe provide me with a medications list that so I know to not provide you with, not send people who are taking nitroglycerin to you? Or can you provide me with some knockout list of any kind for medical history, so I have at least some idea of who not to send to you? And a lot of these companies just kind of say, no, we can't, we won't. Will you be providing something like that in the agent guide for agents when this product comes out, so that agents have like, I like to tell agents, don't worry about what a company will take. You want to worry about what the company will not take. You want to just avoid sending people that the company is not going to take to that company, because a lot of times you only get so many chances to submit an application with a client before they throw up their hands and say, get out of here, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
So what are you guys going to be providing to agents so that we aren't just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks?
I'd say there's 3 things. One is the agent guide itself, where it talks about the single conditions. The second thing is in the e-app itself, we have a brand new qualification tool. It's basically an underwriting sandbox where without a signature, you can go in, put all your clients' information in there, talk about their medical conditions, and get pre-qualified. Now, it's not a guarantee. This is not the pre-check I'm talking about. It's an underwriting qualification tool. I think agents will use it a lot to understand our rules. I think once they understand it, they're probably not going to put their client through it. They're just going to go directly into the app and get the pre-check once we pulled fast data. So, and then the third thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with this amazing industry tool called Fex Toolkits or insurance toolkits. Now, so we worked really closely with Joe, and our underwriters met so that Fex Toolkits is really accurate, right? They got way deeper than I could ever go with medical conditions and what the output is. So I do demos off of Fex Toolkits. I encourage all agents to use it, and that's going to be really accurate. That combined with the new underwriting qualification tool in the e-app itself is going to be really helpful. We don't have a prescription drug chart, so we really underwrite over medical conditions and medical claims, and don't put out anything around the prescriptions for guidance.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah, I get to listen, or not listen, watch some of the live chat conversations that go on with the subscriber base and the toolkit staff. And somebody asked recently about something with Express, and the answer was, we worked so in-depthly with the underwriting, you can be very confident that if the client's being reliable with you, we're giving you reliable information because we got that in depth with the team. And that's relationships, utilizing the true power of what relationships can do for each other. I'm going to throw in a question that Nick took from the audience to you, Steve, and then we're going to get back to the slideshow. There was a concern about customer service. I know I voiced that directly to you before, kind of jumped way up into the hierarchy, went right to you and said, this customer service situation was a disaster. What is Transamerica doing to hopefully improve the customer service experience? Because as an agent, if it's challenging for me to serve or conserve a policy, oftentimes I'll just write them something different than having to go through hell just to keep them on the books with one carrier.
Yeah, there's a lot of levels to that specific question. Let's start at the very top. Above me, we have a lot of new leadership, from our CEO to our president to the head of life to our head of product, and they all really, really want to win. And the good thing about having new leadership is they often ask themselves, were the decisions we made in the past the right decision? And unanimously, they realized we outsourced way too much of the agent experience. And when you outsource too much, you don't control it, and you certainly don't control the quality of it. And we've spent millions, probably hundreds of millions, bringing back in-house a lot of the agent experiences to address that. So that's overall like Transamerica trying to fix its customer service reputation. Now, for this specific product, it's even better than that. You have a dedicated customer service team that only does FE Express. So you're going to want, you're going to want that phone number. You're going to want to know who your RVP is, who your internal wholesaler is. And then what's this number? So it comes down to, like I said earlier, you really shouldn't have any follow-up. There aren't going to be outstanding requirements. You really should, once we fill out, once the app is done, if the bank draft goes through, or the credit card or debit card or Direct Express, you really should be done. Now, of course, you're always going to have banking issues with clients that aren't funded. But yes, we're very aware of the old nickname, and we know that we have great products, but sometimes people choose not to write us because of the perceived difficulty of doing business.
I mean, and I will say it. I mean, the trans amendment thing, frustrating, and has directly stopped me from writing business with you guys in the past. But I also have trouble when like somebody wants to take out a policy loan, or if they want to like change the beneficiary, and you have to. It seems like you have to move heaven and earth to be able to get the right forms to be able to get a beneficiary updated, because like I have a client whose husband passed away and he was her beneficiary, and she wants it to be her grandchild now. And it becomes like 3 days worth of work on my part to be able to get her beneficiary to be updated. Is that all still going to be handled by this completely separate, internally different team on the FE Express, or is that going to get kicked back to the regular Transamerica customer service?
So not only can you and your agent call in and make those changes directly with the FE Express team, with this product, it's the first time that the clients are getting their own client portal. They're getting their own online account where they can make changes directly. They can update their banking or checking. They can update their beneficiaries. They can see when their next payment is due or view the policy. So there is a lot more self-service in here, but it is that different team. And listen, we're not perfect yet. We have a little bit of ways to go, especially on the customer service side. We're training a lot of people. We're growing, and it's taking time to get people caught up to speed, especially on the other product lines that are a little bit more in depth.
Real quick, I just want to clarify for the viewing audience, and we appreciate each and every one of you that are on now or may watch us in the future. If you are watching, comment below today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. But Steve, this product still will be taking Direct Express, right?
Oh, absolutely. So the next couple of examples, depending upon the slides, what we're trying to get across here is we're changing everybody to pay on approval. So today you're pay on draft, right? If you do Direct Express or you future date out, you're not going to get paid on the current immediate solution until that client drafts. So now what this example is showing, hey, they're using a checking or savings, and they want to pay on the first date of the month. Well, and let's say today's the 5th. You have to wait 25 days to get paid. Not anymore. So if you're going to get paid in 48 to 72 hours, if you write this policy on Monday, even if you future date with checking or Direct Express or savings, you're going to get paid on Wednesday. It'll hit your account Wednesday. So a lot of payment flexibility. You can use credit and debit for initial and ongoing, but we don't advance. We won't advance on credit or debit. And that's mostly because the feedback from you guys and agency owners, like, don't do it.
That's a really smart decision, actually.
Yeah. But Direct Express, do you consider Direct Express credit and debit, or is that its own category?
Yeah. Go to the next slide. See if you have that one in there too. Direct Express. So here, Direct Express, they want to draft on the 3rd Wednesday. Maybe it's the 1st. You're still getting your commissions paid in 24 to 48. Pay on approval in about 48 hours.
And is it all if you do credit or debit or Direct Express, is it all within the same application, or are you doing the tokenization thing?
Really easy. You pick first, you choose your payment frequency. When do you want to pay? And then you choose the method. Is it a savings account? Is it checking? Is it a credit card or debit card? Just the numbers. So super simple and fast.
Mm-hmm. Super niche question that nobody else is going to care about.
Great question.
Pennsylvania disclosure statements. Are they built into this product?
Pennsylvania is not approved. California and New York and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania will be the fast follow. And it's all about those disclosure forms. Yeah. So there are some unique states where we don't allow replacements currently because of adding the disclosure forms. Pennsylvania is definitely one where new sales aren't allowed either at the moment. So California, New York, and Pennsylvania, then I think that's Guam and some others, but the big 3 states aren't approved. New York and California take a long time, but Pennsylvania should be a fast follow.
Yeah.
Is the plan for allowing replacements in those states that you're not allowing replacements at the
Yeah,
moment also
it's like Georgia or South Carolina. It's in the agent guide,
Okay.
and it's more of updating and working with the state to.
So the plan is that eventually replacements will be allowed there as well.
Yes.
Perfect. Excellent.
Real quick question that we had from the viewing audience. Let's say, for example, you have a client who is maxed out on immediate solutions, the current generation, the one 5 years ago. At some point, they have the max they can get on immediate solutions. Can they purchase more on the express product?
Yeah, love this question because the answer is absolutely yes, up to the new maximum. So let's say the old max was 35,000 on immediate solution because of your older age. Well, the new product goes for 50,000 all the way to 75. So you can buy an additional 50,000, have both products. Now, there are some unique rules with this new product. One of them is you can only have one. So if you buy FE Express and you bought 25,000, and now you want a second policy with an additional 25, you can't. And part of that's the fraud prevention. So you really can only allow clients are only allowed one FE Express. Make sure you're customizing that coverage and maximizing it. Because when you get approval, I don't know if we'll get to the slide, but when you get approval, let's say you apply for 10,000, it's going to say, congratulations, you're approved for 50. So whatever you apply for, whatever you quote, it's still going to say, congratulations, you're approved for 50,000. Let's customize your coverage. And it's been a home run for agents because right there, they're able to do their gold, silver, bronze, or put 3 different strategies in front of the client and say, wow, you're already approved for 50. How much do you want? And they're also using that customization feature to downsell and lower the premiums. We all know that affordability is one of the most important things to keep this on the books, right? And so sometimes if it comes back graded and it's a little bit more expensive, or maybe you thought you could get non-smoker and smoker, and so it's actually a little bit more expensive, a lot of people are lowering their face amount to making it more affordable.
So let me ask a follow-up on that, because one of the things that Immediate Solution was actually very good at was if prior to issue, somebody had a change of heart and wanted to increase or decrease the face amount that they'd applied for, but it wasn't on the day that they were applied. Maybe they apply today, but they don't want the policy to start until October 3rd, and they call me up in a week and say, hey, Nick, I was thinking about it. My daughter's going to kick me an extra $50 a month. Can I increase my face a little bit? With Immediate Solution, that's always been a fairly easy thing to do. And going the other way, hey, I bit off a little bit more than I can chew. Can I decrease my policy down from a $20,000 to a $15,000 policy? Is that something that is really possible then? Or is the fraud protection preventing that?
I don't know. Haven't had that question exactly. I think fraud prevention is going to say, so the fraud prevention and the banking rules, 99% of the time, agents are going to love it because it's going to mean a great, fast experience with an approval. But there are going to be times where the client doesn't validate, right? You mistyped a social security number and you're going to get prompted, hey, we're not able to validate. So there are some things in here that will cause friction. One of them that we're addressing, but at launch, the payer, the owner, and the insured has to be the same person. Now you can change it immediately, right? But we're fixing that. There's been a lot of pushback, like, guys, the husband wants to own it on the wife, or vice versa. So that was something that is a fast follow too. There's a few little things like that. The bank account, really, address and info is supposed to match the client's, address and info. There's a couple weird rules that we're trying to loosen, but at launch, that's going to be that way. That's a big one. Owner, insured, and payer needs to be the same.
That is a big one, but it can be changed pretty relatively easily.
Yes, you can just call in right after the sale. The client can go right into the client portal and make those changes too.
Wow.
I noticed in our group chat here, somebody was asking about contingent beneficiaries. Are those not available on launch?
So you can add that also. In order to speed the process and make it 100% instant decision, really quickly, contingents are not in the original app. You can have multiple beneficiaries, but they're primary beneficiaries. You can add a contingent in the client portal.
Good question. We have a question from Nick Dale, another agency owner out there. Nick, appreciate you watching. If you guys are watching, comment where you're watching from or any questions that you may have. Are there going to be customized or agency-wide advanced limits to protect IMOs and uplines? I know that some carriers don't even have them, and I don't think they know what they're doing in that situation. And I think advanced caps are good for everybody. But are there any changes to advanced cap rules on FE Express?
There's no changes at launch, but we will allow customization after the next month or two. Another enhancement is a lot of agencies, like we're launching everybody pay on approval, right? We're advancing on everybody. Some agencies don't want that. Or they have some agents who they want to turn that off for. So that is going to be an enhancement that's coming in the next couple months, where you can either pick a downline or pick an individual agent and make them pay as earned.
I had a question from Scott Burke also that kind of follows in that vein, where he was asking about commission structures for agents, where he was being told by the rep that commissions for the Express app are going up generally about 10 points. And he was concerned because he's tried to get his agents with the immediate solutions above a 115% contract in the past and was told that Transamerica would not allow that without special circumstances. Is that going to work more or less the same way on this, or are there different commission rules? Because
there are commission rules. Usually, now, if you have a relationship with me, your RVP is a great advocate for you. But commissions are definitely going up by 15%. If you were getting 70 on immediate solution, you're now getting 85. If you were getting 100, you're now getting 115. So,
and if you were getting 115, you're getting 130.
You're getting 15 all the way up. Whatever, 15 more, and on graded. So whatever you're on grade or select, whatever you're getting today on immediate solution, you can add 15% to that.
Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
Great.
And then rates. Yeah.
Go ahead. The rates are.
Yeah. Go ahead. What do you think, Chris?
The rates are not the very cheapest. I think the word select makes you think it might be preferred plus. Select's a great advertising word, but the rates are still very competitive. And I think from my perspective, I think you priced in the experience, you priced in the liberal underwriting, you priced in a pay raise for all of your agents and agency partners, and you still remained competitive. So select doesn't mean it's going to be the first thing that comes up in Toolkit as the cheapest rate ever, because that also isn't very profitable or safe for many carriers at this point. So your thoughts on the rates compared to the marketplace?
Yeah, I think the rates are good. Standalone, the rates are good. But the rates combined with the underwriting are fantastic. And if you went into FX Toolkits and put in 70-year-old with COPD, we're probably number 1 and 2. If you put in CHF, we're probably number 1. If you put in diabetes with neuropathy, I think we're right behind Royal Neighbors. So you're right. If it's a super healthy client that is very concerned about the rates, maybe write immediate solution and preferred. But in general, I think everybody's going to like the experience, the commissions, and the rates combined with the underwriting look really good.
Yeah, I think
let me tell you, our grade is expensive. I don't realize that today immediate solutions graded is expensive, and our new product graded, it's expensive. And what's one thing we really haven't talked about is Everest, right? One of the best things, the best value people are finding in this. Some agents are really, you're good. Some agents are really leaning into the Everest funeral planning writer. Everest is the number 1 company in the country that specializes in being an advocate for the consumer. They don't work for the funeral home. They work on behalf of the consumer, the insured and their beneficiary, and they do a number of things. They'll help you to plan your funeral. They'll help negotiate with your funeral home. They'll help I think the estate planning documents they can help you create are a real differentiator. And if you want to, be able to get referrals or maybe discover new assets, talk to these clients. 2/3 of Americans don't even have a will, but you can do 3 of the most basic estate planning documents here. You can create a last will and testament with your client. You can create a financial power of attorney. You can create a medical healthcare directive. And if you want to protect your relationship and help your client find value, some agents have told me that you have the best living benefit in the industry. And I'm like, living benefit? I'm thinking critical and chronic. They're like, no, Everest. Every client qualifies for Everest. They can use it from day one. Every beneficiary can use it from day one. It's in every policy. You don't there's no face amount restriction. So whether you're doing 5,000 or 50,000, you're going to have this Everest writer.
People in the comments are kind of going crazy that we're not talking about the signature process in detail yet. I think we should do that before people start throwing things at us.
Yeah, I that is actually ironically something that I did not include in the slideshow presentation for the sake of time and for the conversation. But if you could just, without a slide, Steve, explain how the remote process works, because that's who's asking about it.
All right. Let me first show you the in-face process. Now, I know the industry's really changed here over the last few years. The in-face process is as easy as taking your phone, turning it to, handing it to the client. They click to sign. They hand it back to you. You click to sign. No cursor, no finger. The face-to-face process is absolutely going to be your favorite face-to-face signature process. The virtual process is a lot better. It's 1,000% better than today. It is via text, but there are a few more steps. So every client knows a couple things. They know, and we're asking them, when they sign via email, they get a text, when they sign remotely, they get a text. They click on that text and they click on the box and it says, what's your email, and create a password. So that is causing a little confusion because it's different than most, but we ask for things: email, password, birth date, and the last four of your social, and then you click to sign. So that's when I say there's anti-fraud. That's why I say they're also, the reason we're asking this is we're creating an account for them, the self-service client account. So they need an email. The first thing you do is opt in electronically, right? That this is an electronic experience. There's no paper apps. But the remote signature process, and we have a fabulous training module, the most comprehensive training module we've ever put together, with videos on the signature process, with the sandbox on the signature process, where you can go in and practice it. But I'd say for the face-to-face sale guys, they're going to absolutely love the signature process. For the telesale guys, I think the overall package is so darn good that you're going to go, okay, it's worth this extra step of what's your email, create a password, enter your birthday, enter the last four of your social. But I know true tele-agent sales probably want a voice signature. We just don't have that at the moment. No voice signature.
Do you have any plan in place for the segment of our market that, listen, they probably have an email because they probably have a smartphone at this point, but don't have any clue what their email address is or how to access it or anything along those lines? Because that is not an insubstantial number of people in the final expense market.
What's interesting, Nick, and I had this conversation with another carrier partner, is a lot of times, and I'll let Steve speak for Transamerica, on the electronic process, they're still required as a carrier for compliance purposes to show that the consumer received certain disclosures and documents because they know it's not a paper process. And when they get audited and observed and applications pulled, the carriers are getting kicked in the pants when they see none@none.com and 123 Mickey Mouse. And their opinion, at least that carrier partner, was that the federal government believes, and they hold the carriers to the standard, that everyone's got an email address and they expect an accurate email address in an application. Steve, what's Transamerica's interpretation?
Yeah, and before I go there, sorry, not to jump in on you, Steve, but I agree. Almost everybody has an email address because at this point, even people who can't really afford smartphones have a smartphone, and that has an email address. My issue is not so much the people who don't have an email address as much as the people who really don't understand how to find their email address and don't know what their email address is because their kid set up their smartphone and then they've just never thought about it ever again or given it to anybody. And again, that's not an insubstantial portion of this market. It's still, I would say, conservatively 35% of the final expense market are in that boat.
Yeah, it kind of surprised me how many people push back on that. Like, I really want to do a paper application. You can't. You have to have an email address. There's a lot of efficiencies built into this that are affecting the pricing. That's one of the reasons commissions are stronger. That's one of the reasons the rates combined with the underwriting look really good. There's just not a way around it. You have to have an email address. You have to do business electronically.
No plans in the future of possibly being able to do text for these sorts of things instead, because that does seem to be easier for people rather than email.
You can it is via text.
No, I
You
know,
still
but
have to enter your
using
email.
text as verification. So
Yeah.
on the Medicare side of things, a lot of times, when people don't have email, you can do text verification instead of an email address.
Yeah.
Because where somebody may not be capable of manipulating their email system, at this point they get the concept of a phone number.
Yeah.
And so things can get sent and texted through that instead of using an email address. I'm just wondering if there's any plan down the road to make updates. I understand it's not there now, but thinking in that general direction.
I don't want to tip my cards too much, but I will say that we understand how important a remote signature process is, and that there are things that we can do to make it easier. And I wouldn't be surprised if someday we're like, guess what? We have another signature process available.
Okay. And guess what? We have another one of our hosts on with us for our final 10 minutes. Adam, I appreciate you getting on. Nick and I have had an interesting conversation with Steve here at Transamerica. Any thoughts that you'd like to bring on since we've got you for our final 10 minutes?
You know what? I was on an appointment and just driving home. I was watching on YouTube. Well, not watching, kind of watching, but I guess not supposed to be watching.
Don't watch and drive out.
Yeah,
we need you to stay alive.
Honestly, I'm pretty excited about this product. It looks pretty cool. I've always been about like the Everest and the funeral planning. I know he mentioned that a few minutes ago. And it sounds like the processes are going to be pretty simple, pretty easy. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. What about, I guess one health issue people don't talk about a whole lot anymore is like COVID. How does it work with COVID? Like if someone had COVID within the last few weeks?
We don't even ask. It's not even part of the FAST data. It's not a question. Now, if COVID turned into something else, I guess if a COVID itself is not a concern.
Okay, wonderful. And I wasn't on when this first came on. Is this product available yet, or it's about to be released?
Let's say Wednesday. So this coming Wednesday, the 18th, you should be able to wake up and start writing apps.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Crazy. I'm going to jump in real quick here because we've gotten this question a few times. For all the good that Immediate Solutions is, and it's a great product in its own right, why isn't Immediate Solutions being placed on this new e-application platform?
That's a good question. I think we wanted a different, different experience and probably needed different pricing. When you have preferred and standard, you're writing a lot of policies preferred. So, it brings up one thing that is good, which is the premiums on the new product. Our average premium on Immediate Solution is around $900. Our average premium so far in this small $1,000, 1,000 cases that have come in is closer to $1,600. And I think there's a couple of reasons for it. One is the rates, right? Rates can be a little bit more expensive because there's no preferred. So you're not really subsidizing that cost. So maybe the rate's a little bit more expensive. We didn't talk too much about this upsell feature, but we moved the signature to the front of the app. So at the beginning of the app, you're just doing your health, your medical, your name, your name and personal information. Then you're going to do your health, and then you sign. So your signature is right at the front, right before you do your banking, before you do your beneficiaries. And that's where you've got this upsell opportunity that says, hey, you applied for 25, but you're approved for 50. And if you didn't run a quote, it just says, congratulations, you're approved for 50. A lot of people are using that to upsell. So that's driving a bigger commission. And I think a bigger premium slip. And I think also Everest. People are really seeing the value in Everest, especially those agents that are describing it. And I've had agents say, man, this was a little bit more expensive than their existing policy or what I thought it was going to be. I showed them two. And even though FE Express, they really saw the value of having someone assist their son in their funeral planning, et cetera.
I think I will give you tons of credit. I think having the higher face amounts available is an extremely underrated part of the final expense sale process. I tend to favor companies that have higher face values possible because not a small amount of the time, if I offer somebody a $35,000 or $40,000 policy, they'll go for the $35,000 or $40,000 policy, even if it's bigger than they were initially planning, even if it's more than they were originally planning on spending. When they see, hey, it's only $10 a month more, $20 a month more, and I can have this large amount of money instead of this smaller amount of money. People do gravitate towards that. People are, especially with how things are going up in price recently. $25,000 doesn't sound like as much money as it did 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know,
And even that, I'm selling a lot of 25s that I didn't think
Mhm.
people would take before. And
Yeah.
and I think a lot of carriers, one that recently went to grass last year, God rest its soul, or whoever they believed in, they were 25. I asked their top agent, which you were one of them, but I asked Jacob at the convention, I'm like, well, if the max is 25 on this carrier, on this great trip that we're in, what else do you do when you max out the 25? He's like, well, I got to write them something else. So
Right.
that 50 really does add a lot of opportunity for the agent to be able to place all that business on one policy.
Yeah. No, that is, I think, an extremely big deal, especially for the people who are looking for higher prices. I don't know. I haven't looked at the price structures. Again, it's not going to be in Pennsylvania, so I'm not that concerned. But does the price point, like, I know with some companies, as you go up in face value, you get some slight price breaks on the per thousand cost. Is that something that's built in here, where if somebody's getting something towards the higher end of the scale, they're getting a little bit
There's
better
no
per thousand
official,
point?
there's not a price break, but what there is a bigger gap in how much less it costs than today. So once you get to age 62, if you're a male 62 and older, and if you're comparing immediate solution standard to the new FE Express, so the new FE Express, you're getting 15% more commission, and you're getting Everest, and it's cheaper. So at 62, it starts getting cheaper. At 70, it's even more cheaper. And at 75, the gap is even bigger. So the pricing relative to the current product is really competitive for Select. It's a little expensive for graded, and it's probably a little expensive for smoker.
Good to know.
Yeah, we're also getting a lot of feedback on the text to sign from our viewing audience. So hopefully one day in the future, you guys, if you think it's safe for the product, will embrace it, because someone mentioned other carriers that do text to sign. So hopefully that's an opportunity in the future.
Well, it is text to sign. It's just text to sign with a couple extra steps. You're going to receive a text. It's not the code, right? It is a click on the link and then enter the right information and then click to sign.
I'm telling you, if you get rid of the need for an email address, you will get more apps. More people will submit apps if you get rid of the need for an email address. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe that's maybe that's an intentional.
Let's go back to that one page, though, Chris. This guys, everything you need is on this website, and then a great tool is also off of this website. So your brochures are here, your consumer guides, your product spec sheets. This is transamerica.com/FE-express-toolkit. So I'm not sure if you can Google it or not. You can also use that QR code. But there's also on here something, if you click on learn more or training resources, it's probably the most comprehensive training we've put together. One that has videos on the signature process. It has the full app from start to finish. It has the pre-qualification tool. It has the underwriting sandbox so you can play in. It has consumer videos. It has all of our brochures. It has an agent FAQ. It has, things to know. It really is a very self-driven study guide for you to really be an expert. And when you take that first app, you know exactly what questions you're going to be asking and how the process works.
I do have a question here. What if somebody was rated or declined on immediate solutions? Can we write them FE Express? Because I know other carriers didn't allow products to be cross-sold against each other.
You can. However, I haven't seen very many people get approved that were already declined. So there's not a rule against it, but usually there may have been a few approvals, but I've heard more people submitted declines previously at Transamerica and were declined also.
Interesting. Does the algorithm take other insurance applications into account?
No.
No?
No. And it really is. We're using algorithm, but it is rules based.
Right.
So it's yeah.
Algorithm is just kind of a shorthand for robots, I guess.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, Adam, on this new product, the new process, the new higher commissions, the new instant pay? Maybe not instantly, that would be weird, but like rapid pay. Anything that you'd like to throw in there before we wrap up?
You know, you guys really covered most of it. I mean, yeah, I'm just looking forward to writing it. I'm looking at the rates right now just to kind of see what it looks like. I'll probably have some business to write next week. So
yeah,
looking forward to it.
If you're using FX toolkits, practice with the health conditions. Look at COPD, look at diabetes, look at CHF, look at some of the most popular things, whether Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis, and then look at the rates and see like, okay, that this product might hunt. My final comments would be build a relationship with Transamerica. You know, make sure you know who is your RVP. So this is a nice high level training. We can go a lot deeper. So build a relationship with your RVP. Most RVPs have 2 internal wholesalers. They're the ones that are, they're going to be at their desk taking phone calls. They're going to be the ones that help you understand the product, maybe troubleshoot something. And then in that phone number I gave you earlier, they have a new dedicated customer service team and technical team for AppFee Express. Make sure you're calling that number. I think, like we talked about at launch, there's a few things that are a little different. This owner insured payer thing, a client not validating because of fast data from LexisNexis. You're going to want to be able to call that new 800 number. But in general, 95% of the time, I think you're going to say this product is an absolute home run.
Absolutely. Nick, any closing thoughts?
No, I think we covered everything. Like I'd like to get it approved in Pennsylvania. And other than that, I think we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, well, guys, I sure appreciate you. Great opportunity here. I'm a big fan of all your output and content and what you do for this, especially the final expense industry. So thank you. I feel very privileged to have this time in front of you and to share this with your agents. So thanks again.
Awesome.
Absolutely. If you guys have any questions afterwards, feel free to put in the comments. I can email them over to Steve. Maybe I can get an answer back to you as well. But we need your comments. We get a lot of views. We get a lot of subscribers. We get a lot of interaction without having to pay for it. We're not buying subscribers like some people. So we just need from you comments. And if you have specific questions for Steve or Transamerica after the fact, feel free to comment below and I'll send the message over to him. Adam, appreciate you, Nick, as well. And we'll see you guys back next week.